Thank you for gathering. Besides the work that you did in providing opportunities for young people here, one of the things that was a staple of working with Jim Anderson was if there was a place that should have a national anthem and they didn't have a band to do it, there would be some singers there. His varsity singers for years were the ones singing Star Spangled Banner at the football games, the basketball games, even some of the late basketball home games. And so part of that was also about building community. And this singing is one of the things that unites a community. So if you would stand together and we will sing together.
So then they decided to have a band to finally play the national anthem. So I was actually the drum major in 1978. So we played, well, we had 32 members in the marching band. So we were the beginning. And so Mr. Anderson had a great idea. He said, we're going to do Oliver. He said, I think it'd be a good idea maybe if you auditioned for Oliver. How about that? You've got short hair, you've got a soprano voice. I think it'd work. And so we did Oliver my senior year. And so I'm here to sing Consider Yourself. Mr. Anderson always wanted everyone to do anything they wanted to do in the musicals, and he always invited everybody, even if they didn't have a part in the musical situation of school, so we all just felt a part, and I actually became a music teacher because of him. So I'm glad to be here, Mr. Anderson. Consider yourself at home. Consider yourself one of the family. We've taken to you so strong. It's clear we're going to get along. Consider yourself well in. Consider yourself part of the furniture. There isn't a lot to spare. Who cares? Whatever we got we'll share. If it's your chance to be, we should see some harder.
It's a good afternoon. It's a great afternoon. On behalf of Principal Charles McInich, I want to welcome you all to the Jim Anderson Performing Arts Center. I'd like to take just a minute. My name is David Small. Let me introduce myself. I am one of the assistant principals here at West Forsyth, and I'm also a graduate from the class of 1990. Mr. Anderson was my senior English teacher. He kept me straight. Still keeping me straight, too. Let's take just a moment. I want to recognize the family. So the family will just rise for a minute and let us all know where you're at. Thank you for your support. Are there any retired colleagues of Mr. Anderson? Can you please rise? Retired colleagues? That's fun. That's great. Are there any current faculty or current students at West Forsyth? Please stand. Thank you. Are there, are there any former students of West Forsyth High School? Let me just tell you all, welcome home. And now I want to introduce the fundraising campaign chair of this event, Mr. Noel Hunter.
I'd like to recognize the members of the steering committee who came up with the idea of naming it and pretty much came up with the whole program and everything that's happened here. If you could please stand, those of you who are here. Next, I'd like to recognize one of the members, Lori Goins-Clark. She is also a former Board of Education member, and she has a few words.
Good afternoon. He said I'm a former Board of Education member, but I'm currently on the board, which is probably one of the reasons that I'm up here. On the Board of Education, one of the things we have to do is approve the naming of facilities in our district. So, of course, you can imagine that this is something that I was absolutely in favor of naming after a very distinguished fellow. And another reason that I'm up here is because I was a student of Mr. Anderson's also as a senior here at West Forsyth. So I have a lot of fond memories of this place, this school, and of Mr. Anderson. I guess I'm going to be the first one to say, for all of those students that are out there and faculty members, we can all remember one of his most famous phrases. Can anyone shout it out for me? That is right. But today we are joyful as we celebrate a life, a body of work, and a great man, a job well done. He was instrumental in my life just in providing an example of an educator who loves teaching. And I think most of the kids who went through his classes would say that though there were times when they faced the wrath of Mr. Anderson, when he was not amused, there were many other times where we laughed and just rejoiced in the joy of learning and reading and writing and everything there was to know about English and language and literature. And so for that, I just say thank you, Mr. Anderson. It's a privilege to be able to stand up here and speak on behalf of what an impact you had in my life, and I know that I'm not alone. Many kids have gone through as I did, and he impacted them as he did me. Another reason I'm up here probably is because I was part of the first group of students that went that began the musical heritage that is part of West today. Back in 1988, it became a four-year high school. And in 1989, we, with Mr. Anderson's full support, enthusiastic, just joy, we began the legacy of musicals that exists still today. And were it not for Mr. Anderson and the work that he did tirelessly to be sure that we had musicals here, and the fact that he was a part of it, we owe a lot of that to him. And so, you know, because the memories that I have here have to do with wonderful things like Mr. Anderson and musicals, again, he impacted me in a great way. And musicals and music was then a large part of my life. I went on to do a lot of singing and majored in music, and so, you know, that was part of me, but he's part of those memories, and so I'm grateful for that. You know, when I was running for the Board of Education, I said that one of the things I wanted to do was to emphasize and highlight the wonderful things that go on in education every day that most of us don't get to see if we are not actively teaching in the classroom, or we're not a board member, or we're not an active parent that has the time to give inside of the school building. I wanted to highlight the wonderful things that I know go on each and every day. And so, in line with that, I'm here to highlight the wonderful life well lived and well taught of Mr. Anderson. I want to thank you for what you have done for countless students and people in your career in education. And I want to highlight a very positive person and thing that went on, and that is the legacy of Jim Anderson. And I just want to say what a joy it is to be here, and I'm so proud to be part of the fact that this building is now going to bear your name, and that I have a small part in it. Thank you.
Next we have Jerry Peoples, who is a longtime friend of Mr. Anderson and also a former principal here. He was the principal when I was here, and a longtime supporter of Mr. Anderson in the arts. Jerry Peoples.
I am so pleased to be here. It was quite an honor when Carrie called me and asked me if I would come. I would have had my feelings hurt, I think, if he had not asked. It's so good to see so many of you. Jim, we really had a great job, you know. We got to work with all these fine people, and we've seen a lot of them here today. Several of our students taking part in the program. Carrie, thank you for inviting me, and thank you for, I'm sure, being one of the ramrods in getting this activity taken care of as you did. I had a few brief remarks put together, and then I read the morning paper and saw the editorial in the journal. And I thought, you know, how can you compete with that? If you haven't read it, please do. It's a beautifully written editorial about a really fine gentleman. Also, Lisa O'Donnell did a great article in the Journal West this past Wednesday about our friend Jim. We are honoring Jim as an artist today, and as the creator of a fine program here at West Forsyth in the Fine Arts. As an administrator, I knew Jim better as an English teacher, and to be very honest, I probably appreciated him more in that regard because of the tremendous influence he had on such a large number of students in his English classes. I want to thank all of you who were his students, who had so much to do in making this happen. And I know you are responsible. It wouldn't have happened had students not done. Such a wonderful honor to have students care enough about you as an individual to do the work that these folks have done in bringing honor to you, Jim. I know you're pleased with that. Jim was a senior English teacher here for years. He was also the senior class sponsor. And most of you, David would know, most of you don't have any idea what being a senior class sponsor entails. It is a tough, tough job. It's one that has very little honor associated with it. It's just a plain, hard-working, demanding piece of work. But if done well, it sure makes a principal's job much, much easier. And I can tell you, Jim, I'm not sure what the word I want to use is. I think a perfectionist is probably the best word. He'd worry you to death to do everything perfect. And I think as Terry had seen him typing up graduation list, he said he'd go over and over and over till every word, every student's name was exactly right, everything was in the proper order, 25 to a page. And then he would brief the assistant principals, David, on how to pronounce the names of students, which, because some of them are rather hard to pronounce, I always delegate. Jim did a good job, though, in having them ready to do it. I think I could say to you that Jim is every principal's ideal of a good teacher. Nothing that you could ask him to do, he wouldn't tackle. He wouldn't do it well. I sometimes wondered if I had said, Jim, how about taking a physics class next year, if he wouldn't have said, okay, and probably would have done a good job teaching physics as he did everything else. Jim was invaluable. I hope I've made that clear. Jim was invaluable to me as an administrator here for a number of years. Jim was a good friend. And if you'll pardon a little personal note, Jim's family and mine grew up in the same small part of rural Davie County. I think the place I was born, the house I was actually born in, was probably not a quarter of a mile across the woods from where Jim's family lived. Now, I did not know Jim until I came to work here at West Forsyth as an assistant principal. We had moved away and come over on this side of the river. But the part I wanted to say to you is that my mother knew Jim, and I think she called him Jimmy. Mother knew Jimmy and had heard him play in church a number of times. And she always said, I want Jimmy to play for my funeral. He did, and he did for Dad's too. And for that I was extremely grateful and still cherish what he did for us. 39 years, I believe, total in this business. It would probably be mathematically impossible to put a pencil to the number of students that he touched in those years. Linda Early, who was one of his former students, could probably do it with her computer skills. I couldn't even think of it. But think through your head the number. If he had, back then we usually gave teachers 150 students. That was a reasonable, normal load to work with. So if he had 150 students every year, the number of years he worked, and then you go outside the classroom into the extracurricular programs and you see touched many, 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 many lives in a very positive way. Jim, as I said, 39 years in the business, 31 of them here at West Forsyth, which is certainly a significant number. I was privileged to work with him for 19 of those years here at West Forsyth. Considered myself very, very lucky to be able to do that. And Lori has already gotten the battle cry, we are not amused. But Jim, if I could take the liberty and alter your phrase just a little bit, I'd like to say to you, Jim, we are amused today. And we're very, very happy for you and very pleased that the honor that you so richly deserved and earned so many times over is finally coming true for you. Congratulations to you. Thank you for everything you've done for the students at West Forsyth, for me personally, and for all your colleagues here at West Forsyth. Thank you very much.
Forsyth, Linda Early from the class of 65, and one from more recently, David Joy from the class of 96.
Very recent.
In actuality, I graduated from R.J. Reynolds High School because that's where Jim was teaching at the time. He was my high school English teacher my senior year. But the takeaway phrase that we remember Jim from was curses and assorted blasphemies. And that's actually a phrase that I use often when I taught. It works well. Still occasionally use it. We read Macbeth aloud in class when I was a senior. And 4 years later, he brought his students to Wake Forest University Theater to see me as I played the role of the lady on stage. I was a theater major at Wake Forest, maybe because we read Macbeth when I was a senior in high school. I don't know. I did marry and have 3 children who all performed as actors and singers and dancers and all kinds of musicians. They all went to summer enrichment programs and were all involved in musicals each summer, and Jim occasionally worked with summer enrichment. When my son Dave Early went to West Forsyth High School in 1988, he was in every musical the school produced, and in his sophomore year started singing with his men's a cappella varsity group that Jim organized and directed. Dave calls that the formative time of his life. And it was so formative for him that when he found out I was going to be here today, he sent me an email that I'm supposed to read Jim in just a few minutes. He did major in theater at Appalachian, and he still works in the arts today. In 1992, Dave and that varsity singers group sang at Clemens Presbyterian Church one Sunday morning where Jim sang bass in the choir. Our family joined that church in 1993, and for a short while, Jim was our choir director there. I helped with costuming the plays here at West Forsyth until 1998 when our youngest daughter graduated. Jim had loaned me a serger that his sister had passed on to him. With doing that, in 1999 he gave me that serger, and my youngest daughter Catherine, who's better known as KT, still uses it to make specialty items for various friends and for some customers. I love Jim Anderson, and I am so grateful to have known him in so many ways in the last 51 years. He deserves this honor, and we are glad to have helped make it possible. Okay, this is for Jim Anderson from Dave Early. And if you know Dave Early, he doesn't do anything simply. There's this idea people only talk about once they're done with their education and into the first 5 to 10 years of their adult lives. The quality of the life you find and make for yourself isn't determined by where you go to school, but by who you go to school with. That may sound like an ode to cronyism, but in truth it's more about who inspires you to learn and grow than the specifics of what you learn or grow into. In that regard, I have indeed been gifted with the best, performing with the likes of Rhett and Brantley, Jason and Tora, Michelle and Lori and Carol, all gathered by the man we're here to see today. Well, I wish I were seeing you right now, Jim. My time since graduation has led me on a merry chase of my chosen career across 1/5 of the nation, finding friends, feeding souls, and making art. See, I am one of the professionals Jim has been an integral part of making. For 15 of the past 19 years since graduation from ASU, a majority of my income has been made through the arts, in theater, in music, and dance, in design and production. I've worked on stage with Bruce Campbell. I've built sets for the Goodman and Looking Glass theaters in Chicago, and I've seen more than 5 of the shows that I've built or lit nominated for awards in the regional state markets I've devoted myself to. One of the most important aspects of working in the arts for so long is to understand that longevity comes from a connection to the local community you're living and working in. That idea was already instilled in me by my time with Jim here at West Forsyth. The tight-knit groups of us that his programs and mentorship formed were the backbone of what I looked for in my collegiate experience. And so we're clear, Jim. What you made here at West features a sense of family that doesn't fade easily, based on the class and kindness that you instilled in my life. I found myself in similar working situations in college. Only, you know, a similar quality of theatrical works in college translates into working with the future technical director of the Steppenwolf Theater, with the eventual founders of 3 professional theaters that still operate today, and various other people that he's been able to work with. Not that I'm bragging about me or my connections, I just want to make sure Jim understands that it's all his fault. Me, Dave Early, an eventual actor in everything from Shakespeare to intimate 3-man shows. Me, a former technical director of an equity theater in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Me, an artist in Michigan, living, working, and making ends meet with nothing much more than creative talents I developed with the help of Mr. Anderson here at West. So yeah, I'm one of Jim's kids. Thank you for your dedication to us, good sir. I hope the details I've shared here make you proud. And I would love for my youngest daughter to have been here, and she would have loved to have been here as well. She would have sung for Jim, and I don't do that anymore. I don't sing in public. I sing in choirs occasionally. But she would have sung a song about, you are the wind beneath the wings of thousands of people. Thank you, Jim.
Hi, Jim. Remember me? Gosh, I'm an actor, so I have to bring my lines too. So we don't do well without our lines. But I want to break script for a second, just to say, do you see this place? This place is crazy. It's got wings. The other place isn't even good enough to be this place's bathroom. Okay, but that's where we acted for years. So although it had a swinging rope in the back, so you could just like swing and go off and hurt yourself, it was great. Anyway. Hello, my name is David Joy, and I'm a member of the class of '96 at West Forsyth. What's my name? Thank you. I don't want to take this name tag off. I want to thank you all for coming. When the idea of naming this Performing Arts Center after Jim was first proposed, I was just one among many who quickly answered in support and said I would do anything that I could do to help further bring this cause to fruition. Jim, it's so weird to call you by your first name after all those years. Mr. Anderson has been an inspiration to literally thousands of young minds, and also an inspiration to all those who have ever had the honor of knowing him. My own story could be told by hundreds of people stretching across Jim's 40 years of teaching, 31 of which were here at West Forsyth. That's a long, long time. I was 15 years old when I joined the chorus at West Forsyth, which seems like a millennia ago. I like to sing, but nobody ever said it was special. And little did I know of how my life would be incredibly impacted by the chorus teacher. The same person who also taught my older brother and sister honors English and made me scared of him. But he saw talent in me that had never been identified. And on his prodding, I auditioned for the school musical, and it was the most incredible experience I had in the school. Being on that stage, flip the page, playing a role and singing those songs was an amazing, fulfilling feeling. Soon after the play, he suggested that a few of us would take lessons, private lessons in Greensboro. There weren't a lot of voice teachers for high school students back then, but he knew of an academy in Greensboro that was excellent. And so he got myself and Lee Zink back there in the audience. Yes, Lee Zink is here. He got us to take these lessons, and he told us if we purchased the lessons, he would make sure we got there, and so he did. He made sure we got there every Wednesday. he would always offer encouragement about our work and on most of those Greensboro trips. He would always take us to eat somewhere along the way, and he would pay, which was very nice when you were in high school. We'd come before or after school throughout the week. He was always here by 6:30 a.m. It's really early. I don't know why they make high school students come that early. Shouldn't. Just start at 12. Anyway, he was always here by 6:30 a.m. He would converse with us so that we'd be really prepared for our next lesson. And we always were. For many years, most of you have lived here, there was no other outlet for young performers in Clemens or Louisville for musical theater. Even into the 90s, this was it. And Jim was the momentum behind every spring musical production. He would find a director for the staging, and he would teach the songs. He would direct the music and play piano for every show. And very often he would make financial contributions to help purchase the materials until the tickets were sold. It was the biggest and only opportunity that we had in our community for a musical theater experience. And Jim, as we heard from the other speakers, was a taskmaster as an English teacher and a producer. Excellence was expected in every part of schoolwork or activities. Let's run that again and get it right. People are paying to see this. We have a responsibility. Terry Hicks is the master impersonator. You should become famous so Terry could have been rich, just like that. The other teachers would assist from time to time. Jim was there from start to finish, and he never stood up to take accolades as the producer. He was always the man behind the scenes. But surely he was the vision, he was the engine, and he was the keeper of our dreams. People say that all the time, but this is very true. And during my sophomore year, we were presenting Anything Goes, and the director wanted to build a stage around the orchestra pit. And that sounds simple, okay, now, but back then, no, that was not that simple. We had just gotten cordless tools back then, okay? Like, we were still using power tools with cords, kids. You know what a cord is? Yeah, plug that thing into the wall. It's hard. Okay, anyway. But anyway, we kept talking about it and talking about it and talking about it, but nobody would do anything about it. And Jim, you remember this. So he asked me to come in on a Saturday morning, and we went to Lowe's Hardware in his pickup truck and purchased wood. And with his power tools from home that we had to plug in, actually, no, there were a few cordless, I do remember that. Makita, right? We were all about Makita back then, I remember that. With his power tools from home and about 8 hours of sweat, which sounds like nothing, but I was a teenager and I wanted to be with girls, not sit there in the auditorium and build a stage. But after 8 hours of sweat, we had built that stage that wrapped around the pit. And again, what we had imagined and dreamed became a polished reality because of that man right there, Jim Anderson. To truthfully detail Jim Anderson's attributes, his integrity and his personal impact as a teacher in today's world would perhaps sound more like fiction from the early 20th century than a member of our community. But the stories are all true, and mine is only one of hundreds, or more likely thousands, of young people who received mentoring that changed their life course for the better and for their lifetime. James Neal Anderson was a pillar of our community, and this Performing Arts Center could not be named for a finer man. He was a teacher, he was a mentor, and he was a champion. And he is still our champion today. Thank you, Jim.
A long time ago, in the mythical kingdom of West Versailles, the king, Jim Anderson, he sent out this edict to get all the best knights in the world, tell him he was doing a show. The show was his favorite show, Camelot. It's also my favorite show. And I was one of the lucky knights that answered the King's call, and I directed one of the first of the many shows that I directed here, not in this building, but in the other. Camelot was special. It was magical. It's the story of a young king. He's scared and shy at first, and then with the help of trusted men and some of those loyal knights, he grows to be the ideal leader, full of passion and vision. He learns to use might for right and creates a democratic utopia where his knights sit at a table without a head, a round table. Everybody's equal. They all had a voice in creating this magical world. This is the time of King Arthur, and we reach for the stars. This is the time of King Arthur, and violence is not strength, and compassion is not weakness. We are civilized. I just think all of this describes Jim Anderson to me. He's passionate, loyal, he's always dedicated to doing the right thing. He's a man with vision. He's a man who's gone through the best of the times and some of the worst of the times. And he's still king. I thought it'd be fitting, we thought it'd be fitting, if we got all the singers together. All of you are singers, I know that. If you know Jim Anderson, you're all the singers. I'd like to sing his favorite song, Camelot. So any of you guys, Jeffrey, come on up. David, Lori, anybody wants to come up on stage? You guys are going to sing in the audience. Any of you audience members, Dave, where are you? Lee, come on up here.
Lee, come
on. Come on, Lee. Lori. Yeah. I'm just glad we're not doing Annie. Tippy waitress.
Thanks. Next, we have a presentation to the high school for their archives, and we prepared a photo book that's memories from the yearbook, which you're also seeing in the slideshow. And then we will also give to the school the guest book that people are signing, or to the family in the program. Next, we'd like to welcome two members of the family, a niece and a nephew, Greg Barnett and Sabrina Conley.
Okay. I first want to thank everyone for being here and for all of those who did so much work to put this together. As it says, I'm a nephew. And you may have known him as Mr. Anderson, Mr. A, whatever you called him. But we know him as Uncle Jim. And I saw bits and pieces of it. I was young and watched all this. And I remember so many students coming up to Callahan. Callahan is where Uncle Jim lives. And taking people to Lake Norman and having a great time down there. And it was a lot of fun. And although Uncle Jim never had children, I was his child. He has great nephews, and now he has something very special. He has a great niece who's here for her first visit to West Versailles. Again, I just appreciate everything that went on here, and I know he did a lot of special things for students, and you know, things that I don't know about, but I hear about, and you got up here and talked, and different things like that. He did a lot of special things for me, and I'm sure he did for you. He took me to my first R-rated movie. Oh, sorry, Mom. He introduced me to George Carlin. I'm not sure that was great for but it's, you know, it's been wonderful watching this take place. It was a long time coming. I know a lot of work went into it. And again, Jerry. We just, as for the family, thank you so much. You know, Uncle Jim, it's all about you. Okay? This is yours.
I do remember coming to shows and being a part of, learning all the songs from all these musicals, but my brother, as you heard, asked me not to try to sing, so we won't do that. But he actually had my children, David and Luke, in summer enrichment. They were in The King and I. And he has always enjoyed doing for others. As we came along, he took me to movies, all the Disney movies, and then as we got older, they got the VHS tape or DVDs, and like we said, we've got this whole generation of folks that have loved Uncle Jim. Thank you.
Thank you. We also have a copy of the book for the family, and we'd like to encourage people to sign it next to your picture at the reception, if possible, and then they'll have that to you. Thanks.
Now, if everyone will rise, we're going to sing our alma mater.
Oh,
o'clock, so please enjoy. Thank you.